Most people have a dream trip on their bucket list. They want to go somewhere in the world that is exotic, it's far away, and it will be a memory to last a lifetime. One of the most popular bucket list dream trips is an African safari. And yet, for many vegans, they're not sure how to get going with that. They're not sure who to contact. They're not sure if they'll be served food that fits the criteria for veganism. And so they're in a quandary. Enter J.C. Klerk of Vegan Safaris. JC has created the experience of a lifetime for vegans who want to have the perfect African safari. He gives people a 30,000-foot view, literally, because he's a pilot by trade. And he turned his passion for flying into his current business, which is vegan safaris. You're in for a great treat as I have a conversation with JC Klerk of Vegan Safaris. Stick around.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
Well, JC, I'm fascinated by the fact, first of all, that you're vegan. Whenever I can meet new vegans, and well, you're not a new vegan, but new to my circle. And also with your business model, you have vegan safaris, which is really amazing. So let's start with, give us some of your background on how you got started with veganism, what motivated you, and then let's transition that into your business model.
Oh, Kathleen, so nice to be on the show and so nice to be in your presence again. We eventually got down to it after quite a little bit of a challenge. But yes, where does my vegan journey started? I've been living in Singapore. I'm in Cape Town right now as we speak. My vegan journey started all the way back in Singapore, where I was living in Singapore for the last 16 years. Lovely career I had as an airline pilot, flying all over the Southeast Asia and Australia and the Far East at the same time. But it was just, our daughter, I grew up on a cattle farm. Meat was in my DNA. I'm originally from Namibia, where we have meat 6 times a day at least. So it's just a normal thing. They always make a joke. They always say, well, if you want some vegetables, you go and slaughter a pig. That's how meat orientated it is. But I moved to the East, and when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, my wife got into a very healthy, conscious eating habits just to be healthy in pregnancy and everything. So we started toying with the idea of this vegetarian. So when she was born, we became vegetarian at the same time. But then as she was growing up and starting, when it came to the stage where she was going to have solids, we both looked at one another and we had a discussion. How are we going to actually bring her up? And what's the path ahead? And I think that's how we became vegans at the end of the day. For me, veganism was more a case of health. I think living in the East, it's very easy to become vegan sometimes, because if you go into a butchery or something like that, you get quickly orientated towards. For my wife, it was more ethical, but I think as life where we now, I think I'm leaning more towards the ethical side, just because I'm feeling we have to make some changes around here. We can't continue the way we are. It just doesn't work anymore. So I think I'm leaning more towards, let's make this world sustainable. Let's work. There's too much violence. There's everything is just not working. We're just not aligned anymore with nature anymore. So I think that's where my vegan journey is now at this stage. And coming back from the East, that was my mission, coming back to Africa and saying, this continent needs veganism there is quite a lot of things happening on the continent, but I think if you compare it to the rest of the world, it's a little bit lagging behind, and that's where we are now.
Well, what an interesting journey. And how old is your daughter?
She's 11 going on 17.
Okay. So 11 going on 17. Okay. So you've been vegan for about a decade? From what okay. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I also started, I called myself a plant-based eater. I wouldn't identify as a vegan because I thought it was too radical. I saw a lot of the really harsh ways that people were trying to educate people. And I thought, I don't want to identify with that. But about 6 months into being plant-based, I had an experience at the grocery store walking by the meat department where I really felt the pain and suffering. And so now I do identify as an ethical vegan. And the further I go into this, the more astounded I am with the different reasons how people came to veganism, but also there's kind of a divide between the hardcore vegans who say it's only about the animals and those of us who believe it's really about the animals, our health, and the environment. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, we certainly can't do our advocacy work. So, which really leads into your business model. You were a pilot. You've had quite a colorful background and very adventurous background. And now you have a vegan safari company. And tell us about that. What does that actually mean?
Isn't it interesting? And I think everybody, when I say what I'm doing, everybody perks up and say, "You're doing what?" Yeah, it's interesting. I have very much of a passion of flying. I love my flying. Aviation, where it is today, I still, I enjoyed every moment of my airline career. It's just that I felt like it's just not, it doesn't have a goal where I'm giving back properly. I didn't feel like I was giving back this amazing career. I felt like I was leaving my continent where my roots are. I was leaving that behind. So coming back to Africa, I think I just put a posting on my Facebook page. I just put a post on there now, and I say, every day I try and wake up, and I want this abundance that I have. I want this abundance to go out there with the abundance and success and love that I want to send out to the world. At the same time, I'm trying to convince everybody and try and inspire everybody to do the same. So vegan safaris, I just feel there's so many people that would like to come to Africa, but I think more and more people have that one vegan in the family, have that one vegan in the friendship, have one vegan at work. And I think when people want to come on safari, like on holidays at the same time, there's that one person that's a little bit concerned. Now, if you go to Europe and you go to America, there's always options. You go and sit in a restaurant and you don't really get your meal that you want, and the menu doesn't really look after you. You can always walk out of the restaurant and as a group go into the next restaurant. Safaris doesn't work like that. You book your trip and you get to the lodge wherever you are, and you hope that the lodge menu is going to look after you, even though you stipulated that your dietary needs are vegan or plant-based. Somehow the lodges, there are a few lodges, I have to be honest, and I have to commend them for doing amazing work, but there's that few lodges that just don't have it yet. And it's not their fault, because for years and years, they've just been looking after non-vegans. It's quite striking for me when you go out on these beautiful game drives. You come to this really beautiful lodge and you see this beautiful setting. You go on a game drive and you see these beautiful animals walking in their natural habitat. And you get back to the lodge and you dress up for supper and for dinner. And what's on the menu? Those exact animals that you just saw walking out there.
Oh, I can feel that. I can feel that.
Can you feel that? It's heartbreaking when they tell me this is on the menu and I've just seen that animal walking in its way. And people don't always connect the two. They don't bring the two together. They all say, "Oh, I'd like to taste that." And I think to myself, do you know the connection, how that animal got onto your plate? And a lot of people say, oh, yeah, maybe it's just the animal was old or whatever. Nobody will put an old animal on the plate because it doesn't taste the same. The animal that sacrificed itself for you, for that plate, is the prime animal in the group. And I find it quite shocking. So I'm saying, here I am, vegan safaris. Let me guide you. Let me navigate, help you navigate your this bucket list item that you want to tick. Let me help you with that and make it an experience. Because, when you come on a safari, there's lots. That safari is, you're on holiday and it's about the eating and it's about the relaxing and it's about seeing all these animals. But you want to have the same experience as that non-vegan person when it comes to your meal, and you want to feel that you're contributing. So that's where I am with vegan safaris, and I feel it's moving in the direction, and there are lodges that need some help. And the more people we bring, more vegans come to Africa, the more they will realize that this is here to stay, and let's make some change. And like you say, let's not always call it veganism. Let's call it plant-based. I'm calling it vegan because I feel, for me, I want the animal skin that's on the floor. I want that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the animal trophy, the beautiful animal that's stuck on a wall. And that's why I still stick with the word veganism, because I think those are, let's just say it what it is. It's offensive to veganism. It's offensive to veganism. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. A few years ago, you just reminded me of when I worked for a seminar company many, many years ago. It was probably 25 years ago. And I would travel from city to city, and I went to Minnesota, and there was this hotel that we were always required to stay in with this particular company. And the first time I walked in, and I was not vegan at that point, but I was shocked at all the animal heads on the walls. And I mean, in the rooms, in the lobby, in the restaurant. And I was just like, it doesn't make sense. And yet in that particular area, hunting was a big thing. And before we go any further, I want to remind people, this is Kathleen Gage. You're listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, and I'm talking with JC de Klerk, and he is with Vegan Safaris. And JC, how do people reach you? What's the easiest way for them to find more information on the vegan safaris?
Kathleen, it's challenging. This entrepreneurial journey. I came back from Asia now. It's coming on to close to 2 years now. I'm on this journey still. So, you every day you have to tweak a little bit here and to reach those people. And I think this is the vegan society and our vegan people that are out there. It's not always easy to reach, and you have to find.
But how would they reach you? What's your web address?
At the moment, it's mostly social media. My address to get hold of me is airsafaris269.com.
Okay.
You can go onto that, and soon I'll be starting a blog, which the address will be adapted again. But for now, Air Safaris 269 is the place to go and get some information. There's lots of tours that I have, and I can build anything that you want. I can look after you
that was going to be my next question, and I want to make sure people heard that, airsafaris269.com, and we'll make sure to put that in the show notes, because I want to make sure that people can reach you. Actually, a safari in Africa is one of my bucket list items. And to go on a vegan safari, what better than for this crazy vegan to go and have everything that I need and I want from a safari? So what would someone expect? Like, let's start from the beginning. They're making the plan. It's on their bucket list. They're saying, okay, life's too short. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world. I need to go and get really centered and grounded, and I want to go to Africa. So, JC, what is the process from somebody making that decision to finding you, reaching out? What do they need to prepare? And then what would they experience? I know that's a lot, but let's give them a 30,000 foot view, since you're a pilot and you like that 30,000 foot view. So,
Quickly. If people are really listening now, and your audience is listening now, I want them to please just go to my Facebook page, the Facebook page, Air Safaris 269 Vegan Safaris. Just type it in, and immediately will take you to my page. I did a webinar just over 10 days ago, and I've put the recording on there, and I go into detail about what you can expect on a safari. But quickly, just for your audience that are listening right now, you're going to get hold of me. I'm going to ask you what kind of budget you have, where do you want to go, what do you really want to see. I specialize in Namibia, and I'm based in Cape Town, and I also include Botswana. Namibia for me is it's a very unique destination. We get into Namibia. If you get into Namibia and we land in Namibia, we stay overnight. The next morning, we take this little light aircraft, and it depends how big your group is. If it's 4 or less, we take a 6-seater aircraft. I only take 4 passengers on that aircraft because usually it just makes it a lot more comfortable for everybody. We fly 3,000 feet, maybe 2,000 feet above the ground. You see this beautiful, beautiful countryside that you fly over, and you get that feeling of flying. And it's just an amazing feeling to fly. It's like free like a bird. The flights are never longer than an hour and a half, maybe an hour flight. Land at the lodge just before lunchtime. Get into the lodge, have lovely lunch. Most of the time, obviously, I'm with a vegan itinerary. I make sure everything is organized and coordinated, and I liaise with the lodges. And if they're not ready for me, I coordinate the menu, their meals at the same time. My wife is a vegan hospitality consultant, so she works with me and assisting the lodges. A vegan hospitality consultant basically goes to restaurants and they help them with veganizing their menus. So her expertise is moved exactly to the lodges as well. That's if the lodges want our help. And when we land there, so just after lunch, you'll have a little bit of a siesta time. You wake up in the afternoon, have a lovely some afternoon tea or coffee, and we get into a game drive vehicle, and we go and do a beautiful game drive, which takes you right into sunset time with lovely sunset sundowner drinks as the sun sets. Get back to the lodge, and you have a lovely meal, and the next day you do that over again. Usually stay 2 days at a lodge, sometimes 3, depending if there's a lot of activities. And we jump in the little aircraft and we go to the next destination. Now, that is just, I say flying because Namibia is a vast country. You can do everything driving. I've got nothing against driving. But because a lot of people are a little bit stuck for time, your time is limited, so you want to try and fit in as much as you can. It does make it a little bit more expensive. But the value that you get out of flying and seeing this beautiful country and the countryside from the air is just something out of this world.
It sure sounds like it. And I do have a few questions. So let's take a step back on what the ideal amount of time would be if you could advise people on, rather than like just 5 days, would 10 days be best? What's the ideal amount of time for people to really have the experience that you want them to have?
Kathleen, I always say 10 days is a good time. 10 days is a good time. So wherever you're traveling from, that's obviously going to take about maybe 2 days to travel wherever you are from. If you're traveling from America, that's usually 2 days because you're going back in time, and then when you leave again, you have to go. You're gaining time again. So maybe 2 days on each end. So that brings you to 14. But 10 days is ultimate for a proper safari. You can do it in 7 days, but you're really rushing it, and you really, for the money that you're spending, you don't really get that ultimate value. You can do it. I always say, for us vegans, please come and visit Cape Town. Just please come and visit Cape Town. Cape Town is this beautiful, beautiful vegan capital of Africa. It's got so much to offer, and I purposefully in my trips, I don't include any details, any activities in Cape Town, because I say, let's open the door. You come and tell me what you want to see. The rest of Africa, I take care of our itinerary, but I leave Cape Town open because usually some people always have to fly from the US, have to fly into Cape Town, or you can fly out of Cape Town because most of these airlines go in and out of Cape Town. Namibia is a little bit more difficult. Even Botswana is a little bit more difficult, but Cape Town is very accessible. We take a commercial flight from Cape Town into Namibia or into Botswana. So that 10 days covers everything that you need. You can see a little bit of Cape Town, and you see a little bit, and you see majority of the time you are in Africa, and you can immerse yourself. And by flying, you're not rushing anywhere. You don't have to get early in the morning to travel that 6 hours to that next lodge, because that's usually average time. For us, it's a little hop of an hour. You wake up normal time and you get into the aircraft and you hop to your next place. So 10 days, I would say, is a good time to think.
And let's look ballpark, what kind of budget should somebody have in order to really enjoy the experience? Let's say that, whatever their flight from the US or Canada or England, what is the average cost of a 10-day safari?
A 10-day safari, I make it easy for your listeners. 10-day safari, 10,000 US per person.
Okay, excellent. And now let's take a step back on prep. What do they need to do as far as passports, shots, things of that nature? And how has the pandemic put restrictions on people traveling to Africa?
Botswana, Namibia, South Africa is all very accessible right now.
Okay.
It's so easy to get. If you double vaccinated, you don't need a PCR test. If you are not vaccinated, obviously you're going to need a PCR test valid for 72 hours at the same time.
Okay.
But the situation in Southern Africa, Southern Africa is very much double vaccinated, no PCR test. And you come in. What's the status of COVID at the moment? There's a little bit of an upsurge here in South Africa with regards to teenagers at the moment, but it's very, very flat at the moment. I just had COVID. Like I mentioned to you recently, I just had COVID, and I'm double vaccinated. So you still, but I think the severity of the pandemic is not there anymore. It's like it's almost. The sting is almost out of its. The poison is really out at the moment. So what I'm trying to say, it's very easy to travel to South Africa. When you're coming, I'm always saying in this day and age with limited flights and all the airlines are getting back on there, please use an agent to book your flights from wherever you go into Africa. Just book. Just use.
I've heard that from quite a few people, that they say don't go through these Expedia or any of the discount. Make sure that you're dealing with an agent who can work with you if flights have to be canceled or changed, that you have flight insurance. What about clothing? What can people expect as far as what they need to bring with clothing?
Well, if you come to Cape Town has got 4 seasons in one day sometimes. I always say, when you come on these safaris, and especially if you're flying a light aircraft, the maximum weight that you can take is soft luggage, 20 kilograms. It's all you can take. And that 20 kilograms includes your camera equipment and includes your hand luggage. Don't come and have an extra.
What does that equate to in pounds? What is 20 kilograms in pounds?
That's maybe just under 40 pounds.
Oh, that's not very much. Okay.
That's not very much. But you know what, Kathleen? Come on, you're on a safari. You're in this beautiful bush.
You're in the bush, yeah.
Oh, you need this. There's no fancy dinners, black tie events that you're going to be sitting in. You need that one jacket. You need a little bit of a pullover that just to keep you warm. Usually, when you go onto these game drives, they all have ponchos that keep you nice and warm. So that's all taken care of. But you need one jacket, one little a type of sweater type of thing, and maybe a nice scarf. Pack 2 scarves for yourself just to make yourself. But you need maybe pack a pair of shoes that you can wear during the day and in the evening at the same time. Pack a light, maybe a we call them in South Africa slip slops, just a nice pair just to walk in when you're walking around your room and when you want to go and sit at the pool. If you come in wintertime, it does get cold in the morning. Usually it's cold in the morning. By 11 o'clock, it's already summertime. It feels like summer by midday. Then when you get into the evening, you go into into late afternoon, it starts getting cold. And by late evening, by dinner time, it is quite cold in winter time. Now, if you move to summer, things change very, very quickly. But I say, if you come in winter time, one jacket, one pullover, and you can always wash. There's always facilities to wash at the lodges.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, because 10 days with the same pair of pants, that's probably not a good idea. So, well, JC, this has been delightful. And it truly, an African safari, a vegan African safari is on my bucket list. So I know one day we're going to meet, and I really appreciate all the information that you gave and what you're doing for the animals, the environment, and for people's health. And in closing, are there any final thoughts that you have for people?
I'm so want everybody to come into Africa. I'm looking forward to wish everybody I'm dreaming of sitting around a campfire and having long discussions about veganism and how we can save this planet and having deep debates how we can do that. That's what I want to tell your listeners. And I'm looking forward to just letting them, even if you just make a call to me that I can maybe help you with if you're looking at another safari, I can help you with any information. That's what
Wonderful.
I'm offering.
Wonderful. And we'll make sure to put all your contact information, your social media links in the show notes so that people have that available. And I just so want to thank you for being on the show and sharing your information and what you're doing for the animals, because when we really look at it, we don't have to live in a way that harms animals, and we can be much more compassionate, and we can live in a less stressed environment and a world by not putting stress, anxiety, fear, and death into our bodies. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. I encourage you subscribe, leave a review, and go out and do the right thing with what you put on the end of your fork. Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.